So, welcome to Dirty Divine, where we connect and dispel any separation between spirituality, sexuality, and the many layers in between on the spectrum, right? Today, we are so blessed and honored to have a special guest in the studio. This person is not only a beloved on a personal level, but also a cherished community member and body worker practitioner, and was the perfect person to bring on the set because for this specific question that was asked to me, and I'm going to pass it along to you. Okay. And I had to bring you in to get your perspective and just wisdom, right? As a lived experience kind of thing. If you would introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers and share who you are and what it is that you
Word and noted. I am not much of a tease anyway, so I'm going to introduce myself. I am Goddess Akira InnerG, Goddess InnerG, if you want to leave out my birth name. I am an esoteric being. Esoteric meaning everybody ain't going to love me, and I'm okay with that. There's a little fear in some people's hearts, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge that. I am an aerosomatic body worker. I am a pro switch as well as a lifestyle BDSM practitioner. I am also a very good cuddler and just someone who likes to live in their truth, their authenticity, and share my life experience. Ask. Hope you're ready for the answer.
I love that. Thank you. And welcome again. So, the question that was asked of me, like when I identified myself this way to someone, what the fuck is a sexologist? Wait, before you jump into the answer to that, I know you, within the last couple of years, completed your training with Atlanta Tantra Institute, who is that is the kind of leading tantric and body work institution in my eyes, anyway. Black woman led and owned. Goddess Amina is one of my heroes. So please, like, what the fuck is a sexologist?
Yes. Big shout out to the big goddess Amina. Definitely many people's shiro on this earthly plane. Black woman centered work is very, very important work.
Yes.
I do believe God is a Black woman. And I also honor that God is partnered with a Black man. So shout out to the humble warriors as well.
Yes.
Sexologist. So because I'm like this very intellectual person, I'm going to go to the encyclopedias that my parents made us study. And anything with the word ologist after it is someone who studies that or has mastered that. And so my definition of sexologist is somebody who studies sex, somebody who masters sex. Sex in the sense of what we're doing right now. This could be seen as sex. We don't have to be touching each other physically. We could have a very sex conversation.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm going to leave it at for now.
I love that. And yeah, that hits right where it's supposed to. I think when I said, well, I described myself as a somatic sexologist, because it's important that I stress, like, yeah, we're having fun and pleasure, but also this is part of a healing modality. And I know you are a tantric body worker as well, what was your experience like completing that training, and like what led you to that type of path in the first place, beyond just like being interested in sex, right?
Yes, absolutely. I will give honor to her program and share that I have completed the somatic bodywork touch practice level. In the future, I may go through all sex doula, I believe it's sex surrogate, and then sexologist to cap it off.
Yeah.
What led me to this path is my desire for touch, my desire for sex that satisfies, right? Not just sex that happened. You know what I'm saying?
Say that. Hold on. Can you say that again?
Sex that satisfies, not just sex that happens.
Not just sex that happened.
You know
okay, I'm here for that. Intentional sex.
Intentional sex. Doing the work, not just being the, I guess, thing that's worked on.
Yeah.
In essence, you know, I'm not here for anybody masturbating with my body. That part. So for me, it was very much about tapping into the sensations, tapping into the sensation wheel, because we get so tapped out on our feelings that we could say things like, oh, I feel sad, whereas we can really use our words better and say, I feel tight, I feel tense, I feel cold, right? Using those words that actually are feelings.
Right.
And not just identifying with this emotion all the time.
I feel like you be lies.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Confusion. So that's what led me here. I never really saw myself being someone who practices celibacy. It's been a very long celibacy for me, and so I have sex in many different other ways. I was just touching on a body the other day on my table and share with them how it's been going on 7-8 months now, but the way I have sex looks different.
Yeah.
Very much
for sure.
penetration.
Yeah.
But I'm penetrating you.
Right. On multiple levels too, like energy, goddess. Yes. So I can relate to that as a sex god, like for a while. I took maybe it had been I want to say a year, a little under a year, but I definitely took a period of celibacy to realign and call back on my energy, because like being a slut and giving out this $1 million dick it yes, but I realized like you ever fuck somebody and then realize like, damn, you had no business getting, but it was your destiny to receive the healing, but I was doing too much. My guide set me the fuck down, like, look, you're not gonna keep dodging these bullets. Like, sit your ass down, regather yourself, and then call your lovers with intention. So I did that. But during that time, my kink was very much still active. Like, I had to work and eat. That's right. And so my body work sessions, my kink sessions, all those things was that energy exchange for me, and was that right, sacred energy exchange. And I realized like I don't have to necessarily receive genital stimulation to feel fulfilled after an encounter with a being. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And then after that, I did a whole big sex magic working to call in the lover that was going to be on my level, and we see how that worked. So
I'm so thankful to be aligned.
what would you say is like a challenge for you personally, being a sacred sex worker, a somatic practitioner? Like, what do you find any personal like conflicts or just like energy levels? Like, what do you find is like, you don't have to list your top ones, but anything that you can think of?
Well, big challenge for me is, as you said, you have to call it in regarding your match, right? Somebody who is on your level. And so for me, a challenge is really just letting people come as they are. You know, very much like the doors of the church are open, come as you are. I'm not trying to elevate you forcefully. I want you to willingly allow yourself to rise up. And so for me, it's a bit of a judgment that I have to let subside when I recognize that certain people are not where I am or anywhere near it,
Mm.
I am still here to give the medicine, to be the medicine. And so just letting people be them.
For sure.
Authenticity is going to show up how it shows up. It doesn't have to be something I approve of or even something that I desire for myself, because these are clients in essence, with regards to the work. They come to me for a service. And so I just provide that.
Yeah. I can relate to that too. And I think I meet different vibrations, let's call them that, with a level of compassion now. It's like I remember when I was at certain stages and I look at consciousness expansion like this way and not like this way.
Right.
So that we can, there's no level, like there's a lot of spiritual elitists and people that are like moving in egoism and they feel like, oh, I done did 3 ayahuasca trips and you know, that
still integrated.
Right. But like still, yes, like still very much like ego led. So, you know, I know it's a daily work of checking in with self and checking ego, but I did find that for before I could really tap into other people's divinity, I didn't see my own either. But once I really felt that, like once I knew who I am, it was impossible for me to not respect and honor the divinity, even the sleeping gods, even the people I don't fuck with. It's like you're a version of me that I just don't resonate with in this life. But I know encountering me is gonna expand you a little bit. So you're welcome, bitch.
You
Get
know
the
what
fuck
I'm
out.
saying? Embers of fire go up. Do the thing.
I love that.
Vibrate out.
So I know you're not like fucking anybody right now, but like, do you find that your work stops you from making personal connections? Or if you were to want to give it up, are you being judged for your type of work? It's like, what is your experience with that?
Well, I might be getting judged for my work. I just find that most people they say that shit behind my back. And that's probably the safest thing to do for them.
Yes.
Because like I said, you ask me a question, be prepared for the answer. You bring something to me. I hope you are someone who knows how to self-soothe, because I'm really not licking nobody else's wound but my own right now. So just the other day, I had somebody on my table that you have been touched by as well in your time of need, and it could have gone there. I just let it stay on the table because, powerful goddess.
Yes.
Powerful goddess. It's,
yeah. And I think that's why I really love this type of work too, because I can pour into you. You're going to get these hands. I can like let you know how I feel and still maintain my professional integrity. Like, yes, you're an attractive human body. Like, also, I'm just drawn to, I think I have a crush on everybody because of the divinity inside of them. It's like when my heart opened, it really fucking opened. Like you love everybody, you really want to love everybody. And you can't. So I mean, you could, but what type
to your
of
own detriment?
Yes,
that part.
And also like when you're maintaining that integrity, like I said, professionally, because there's a lot of abuse happening in the sacred community, whether plant medicine is involved or not. There's a lot of tantric workers who don't have like the light of God or a guiding light within them. And so like for them it's a harvest, or it's like everyone is there for their pleasure and not the other way around. Like if I'm in sacred service, like obviously there might be a mutual attraction happening, and that's why you're trusting me to touch your body, or that's why you maybe want to be touched. But the level of like penetration energetically versus like what we could have in a quick physical tryst is so much deeper. And like the impact of how we appear in these spaces like really leaves people with lasting impressions. So you're going to get off my table feeling loved and made love to, but not violated. So
people are going to talk. They're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I definitely want most of what is said about me to be the good and the beautiful.
Right. And right, there's like that the law of 100 or whatever, like you're gonna hear at least that one no out of 100 people who are not gonna have the same experience or be able to like integrate your energy into their field. Like that's what I really realized. Like when I'm bothering people's soul, it's because there's such a gap in consciousness that like you're being triggered by this elevation, because we're always going to try to expand, right? The nature of the soul is,
that's what tantra means, expansiveness.
So what do you do when you've done all this body work and you've poured all your sex juice into people? Not literally, but then you're aroused, and like, what do you do with that energy after? Or do you experience that at all?
I do experience that very often. Almost every time I am off the table working on someone, I literally go and look at my pussy. And I want to see that aloe vera. Like, I want to see that I was just as aroused, if not more, than the person on my table. And from there, after they're long gone, I may play with my pussy with that energy, or I'll just go take a nice salt bath and let that energy heal me and wash over me. That's what I did on this past full moon.
Nice.
Worked for the first time on 3 bodies in one day, and oh, I'm so powerful.
Yes.
It felt so good.
And you've been here to Aftercare Sundays, and I've like experienced you and like your heightened energy after you've been, having hands on people.
Yeah.
And so I already know it's like this big hot ball of fucking like this passionate, like the sacral juices just flowing. And for people who are not in tune to energy, or not aware, it could just feel like just body heat, just you've been working. But for so much, for the trained eye, I should say, it's just this expansion and this groundedness and this like not lustful, but that's like the best word I can use. It's like this ball of sensuality. Like it could go either way. It could be primally released. So anyway,
right. Yeah, you see me in all those stages. I'm like, so what are we doing? What's next?
Yeah.
Who's leaving so that we can get to it? Like whatever that looks like.
Yes. And so you also do cuddling too, right? Yes. What's your experience with that, and like why do you love it so much if you do?
Gosh, I'm so big when I cuddle people. As my 5'1" self, these 145 pounds on these bones, I expand so much. And there's a photo that you share for Aftercare Sundays of me cuddling up somebody, and then somebody is behind them, and I'm trying to get to the person behind the person that I'm cuddling.
Right.
And it's like I become Stretch Armstrong. I used to love playing with that toy as a child, and so I just let myself get as big as I can get and as heavy as I can get, because I'm not somebody who touches people with fear. I touch with the sole of my hand, just like you have the sole of your feet. And I just love to put that weight on people. As much as it takes the weight off of them, I like to put my weight on them.
Can you share a little bit about like co-regulation and like the more sex geeky benefits of cuddling?
Yeah, so co-regulation starts with the breath. All of my work, we do the breath work together, and that just looks like sometimes we breathe in sync and sometimes we breathe in a circle. And so for me, circular breathing is really enjoyable, really pleasurable. Breathing into somebody as they inhale me, and then vice versa, that is really powerful. Sharing your essence in that way, it's really sacred. So heart rate begins to be in sync. The touch that you give to somebody, you don't always have to receive that in return. And so what I also like is just those people who do touch with fear. Sometimes when they get in my presence or they get under me, I'm just really here to teach. Like, I hope that the next time you touch somebody, you think of how I touched you, and your touch is not as light.
Right. Yeah, that confidence, or like the knowing,
to be like a tickly situation. I want it to be very much grounding,
weighted
heavy.
blankets vibes. Yeah, I love that. And my goddess and I lay on each other. Like, we were in Mexico, and she had to. It was the weekend of, I think it was like a new moon and a solar eclipse on our ceremony day. But the nights leading up to that, my body was everywhere. I was being like sucked into different portals, and I was like, I just want to fucking sleep. I kept projecting everywhere. And she literally, like, one of the nights, like, like I kept jumping up, and she just laid on me and like kept me in my body. And she's like a buck something wet. But she was able to like do that very, very strong sacrally and root connected. So, and I was able to stay my ass in my body and go the fuck to sleep.
That took me to that beautiful chorus song when they say, "Be here now."
Mm-hmm.
I love that one.
I love all their songs, actually.
Some of them just pop in my head faster.
Mm-hmm. That's like, this is the mantra of the day. You talked about being a pro switch. Mm-hmm. What is that like for you? Do you lean towards any specific side?
Yes, I definitely lean more towards the dominant side. I say pro switch because I do pro bottom for Real Daddy Hef on stage. And so for me, being a pro switch, you need to have the experience of what the people on the bottom are going to experience when they're in your presence, when they're in your care. And so that for me looks like allowing myself to be seen, healing in the open, what's done in the light type vibes for me.
Yes.
And so I say I'm leaning more dominant because I am as big as I am. I am born this way. It is very effortless. It's very natural for me being a warrior, coming from a tribe of warrior women. Like, you're gonna feel that. It's one of my introductory essences.
I like that. And so do you switch also? Do you submit? Because you like, we know the difference between like bottoming and shit. Are you submissive as well in that switching, or is it just pleasure and physical sensation?
Oh, yes. I very much allow myself to be submissive. I allow myself to be in the care of someone whom I trust. And I'm very submissive in the sheets.
I love that. I can be submissive in a pleasureful way, but not in a psychological way. Like, if you can boss me around, if I believe you, I might indulge for the sake of empowering you, but it's because I want to. And that's what submissive is, right? It's like, if I fucking want to.
Right.
But I'm a pleasure bottom, so I will, and that's that Taurus energy, that Venus ruled, like, I will lay back and let you serve me. But I'm definitely not psychologically like submissive. If you tried that shit outside the bedroom, like, well, my wife, she can boss me around, but she knows like how to make it a respectful thing, like, because also I'm not here for just like ego trip domination. Anyway, but thank you for that.
It's a lot of ugly ducklings out here that became swans, but that's for another podcast episode.
Yes, we will definitely touch on that. Thank you.
Good, thanks. I appreciate it.
So I wanted to touch on like your spirituality and your personal practices. What does that look like for you as a sacred sex, like enacted being or activated? What does your spirituality look like?
Well, I can say there was a bit of fear involved with that at first because, the person that I am initiated by is a male. And so a lot of that, I did have to hide myself when I go see him. I do have to cover up, even if it was a high priestess, but it's even more heightened to be in the presence of a man and, knowing that his partner is still in the house while we're practicing. Those kind of things that were programmed into me from my childhood, having a father who was not as focused sexually on my mother. And so that fear aside, now I am somebody who leans very much into my sexuality when it comes to spirituality. I can still have worn this outfit and my elekes if I wanted to. I just know that I don't always like to take them off because when I'm out, it is a part of me. So what that looks like now is no hiding, no making myself small in the presence of the mask or the westernized program. You're going to get this work and however it looks.
And what are you initiated into? What tradition do you follow?
I am initiated into Santeria. My Baba is an initiate out of Cuba. And I also practice a lot of the Isheshe diasporic practices, the science of that. But yes, I am Santeria Lukumi.
Nice. So my son's family is from Puerto Rico, and in New York, like, well, my family is Native American, but Louisiana based, like, Creole on my mother's side. And so hoodoo is just in my blood, but like hoodoo is a bunch of different traditions, right? When I lived in New York, I learned a lot of Santeria, and like really was able to add to my arsenal. And then that's one of the ways I started connecting the dots of how all these diasporic traditions are like evolved or devolved from the African traditions, and the spiritual practices from there. And I think it's really cool that you can embrace yourself and allow yourself to experience a traditional path while still creating a new tradition. Like a lot of high priestesses and babas and babalos and hoodoos and mambos, everybody, a lot of, like, everyone is sometimes, not everyone, let's not use general, many people, right, are sexually repressed, or at least want to put that side of things in a box. So it was important to me, like my high priestess, and the tradition that I most closely, if I did have an initiation, it was this, into spiritual baptism. And that's a Caribbean, a Trinidad and Tobago. That's where the high priestess is from. And she was able to see me and my power without judging or without trying to separate me from my sexual practices. Now, mind you, she has nothing to do with my tantric work, my BDSM, or anything like that, but she was assigned to me, and assigned to healers only, and like people who are also elevated. And so it's good when you can find that safety even within that, because we start going back into shame and then rejecting that sexual end of things. So I'm happy that you do show up for that.
I give thanks, and I'm happy for me too, because there was, I had one particular reading with my Baba, and his question was, do you think that there's a darkness about you? And we kind of just left it at that. I didn't have any questions. He didn't divulge much more. However, it didn't cause me any fear, because I know that most times when you are being read by someone, they're also reading themselves. And so for you to bring that up, I pray that it also led him to explore his darkness, because I'm not afraid of the dark.
Right.
I'm not afraid of what exists within me, because I know that whatever is within me is to help me expand and elevate and not come back to this earth again.
That part.
So these 2 years that I have been exploring the illusion of separation from someone that I was legally married to in front of Goddess Amina has really allowed me to find more of a balance with my light and dark, more harmony with just being who the fuck I am. Not just because I wear white, I have to appear and posture every time I'm in the public eye. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I love that for you. Because for me, it's like that's the only sin, is not actualizing yourself and not allowing the full expressions, in healthy ways. Not saying like everybody needs to be hypersexual or, disregard the sacredness of spaces that are not sexual. And then what you said about like people being scared of the dark, we just all been conditioned to assume that darkness is bad. And that
I'm waiting to grab you.
Right. I'm thinking about, let there be light. And, darkness was the origination, like where the light came from, and also what makes light purposeful. So, as a shadow dweller, as a shadow diver, and someone who intentionally like integrates portions of myself that had been considered dark, I can relate to that, because I can't exist in a space where my darkness is shunned or judged or looked at. Like I'm here for radical acceptance of myself and others. So even when other people show their darkness, it's not something that scares me. Like I'm waiting to
Curiosity.
see that. I can't even really take you seriously and as a real being until I know what your struggles are, because then I'm just like not judging you. I'm trying not. I'm working on my judgments of how polished are you appearing for me, and like what is the impact of when your shadow bursts out because you've been fucking hiding it and pushing it down, because it will. Everyone's mask slip or crack or break at some point. It's like a matter of when. So I look for, when I meet people, I'm like, you're fly as shit, and I'm like trying to figure out. Sometimes it's evident. Like when talking to people, you can see like what they are working on, or if they're not working on it at all.
That I'm definitely someone who, one of my mantras is show yourself. Like, you're gonna do it on purpose or you're gonna do it on accident. But sometimes it's an involuntary thing. Being born a seer, and like you, just being somebody who, we got this X-ray thing going on. Like the way you looking at me through these glasses. I love it.
Yes. And I love the way that you're able to see me and vice versa. That's one of the things that I appreciate about our relationships, because when we first were being around each other, I was still like releasing some shame from just like other people's perceptions or misconceptions. And so I did like kind of reserve and keep myself bubbled. And I never felt like you were ever afraid of allowing yourself to get to know me. So I'm grateful for that opportunity, and like this time that we've been able to spend with each other and be in community. You are one of my favorite, like most self-aware, like that's how I would list you. Obviously, like you fine as hell. Obviously, like you come in with this big goddess energy. But for me, the attraction is so much deeper. It's about like your practices, your awareness, like the way you integrate yourself, and like the way that you see others and see their wounds. Like, because we've talked about some people that we know that have, different places in their healing journey that may have impacted our lives. And you've never like, you're not bashing people. Like when you're definitely like here for conflict resolution if there may be, but you're also not taking no fuck shit. Like
doing no one else's work for them. You can witness me do my work, and I pray that you take notes. I pray that you imitation is one of the highest forms of flattery. However, flattery is the highest form of deceit. And so I don't want anybody to try to be like me. Like, I really want you to come forward as your most authentic self.
Right. And like, you might be inspired by my vibrations. Use that as the template to figure out the formula for yourself, not like figure out my formula, because it's not going to work the same.
Okay. Good dope sells itself.
Yes.
Love is a drug.
Speaking of drugs, what's your experience? Right, that was just a natural thing too. Plant medicine, like entheogens. Like, what is your experience, if you care to share, or what is your outlook on the topic?
Absolutely. Everyone should remove all fear surrounding that. I had some myself when I first experienced, or before I even experienced the mushroom medicine. I had fear around my fears coming up, anything that I may have pushed down coming up. However, even moving past that, my first experience with the mushroom medicine was a solo journey with someone who was there sitting, but mostly on their phone. And so it was me and the medicine and spirits. And so I did like a 4-gram journey in an apartment that was very near and dear to me, because it was somewhere that I transitioned out of a previous relationship, and super powerful. I leaned very heavily into shroom medicine after that. Moving past shroom medicine and still keeping it with me because it's in me, I then experienced LSD, love, sex, dance. That's another medicine that I lean into and highly recommend to all who have the love in their heart to experience it. Of course, before I even got to the shroom, I experienced ayahuasca. And ayahuasca to me was an experience where I was even more fearful of the shroom than of the shroom. that was because I am a natural born medium. Medicine doesn't take a hold of me like it does to other people. I was still very much aware and in my body. You know, I did my purging and all that kind of thing. It just was something where I was very observant of the room. My first ayahuasca ceremony is where I met my Baba. And that was 5-6 years ago. And so medicine leads me to very deep connections. I even had an experience with Bufo alvarius. I kissed the toad, and same thing. I was told by the people who were there to make sure I was safe that you know how to walk with medicine. Like, it just didn't take a hold of me the same way that it does to other people. I have been on the other side of the door when people have their experiences with the toad, and I'm just like, I hope mine's like that. And then mine just was like me laying on the floor the whole time. But then I'd come out and I'd look around and then I'd go back in, and I want to kiss the toad again. That needs to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, plant medicine, entheogenics, they are very necessary. They were put here by the gods for us to discover so that we can discover more of the God inside.
Ashe, I can agree with that. And that's surprising to hear that you did Aya before shrooms. Because for me it was exactly the opposite. So obviously cannabis was my first experience with plant medicine in life. I was exposed to LSD in my teens, and I shared a sugar cube with someone, and we laid there for hours, and I was like waiting for the experience, not realizing that laying there looking for something was, because it was at least 4 hours, and we just were like, wait, like we didn't understand the nature of, because, you know, it's all sensationalized on TV, right? You're gonna go to this land and see all these things. I didn't experience that type of thing until mushrooms. My mushroom introduction was more of a recreational. It was a drug. It wasn't a medicine at the time. And so my first plant medicine mushroom trip, that was a sacred trip, was much more different. And I'm really sensitive to plant medicine, so it takes very little bit nowadays. Now that like I eat better, my system's different. Back in the day, I could eat like a whole 3-5 in a candy and just be just like chilling. Nowadays, like the right strain will send me into what I call oracle mode, where I'm laid the fuck out, like how you said on Bufo. And like I can't see, like sometimes I go blind. It's like white blind. It feels like mycelium has covered my eyes, and then the room might look cloudy as fuck, and all I can do is see from my third, fourth, and fifth eyes. And but I can answer any question of the universe that you may have. So for that reason, I don't like when I do my vision quests, I don't usually make it a social event unless I'm in a cuddle bubble, like how you experience, like where we have our trusted people who, if I tweak out, y'all like,
y'all got me.
Right.
I mean, I got me, and my guides got me, but you're not gonna freak out with me.
That part, and don't freak me out further, freaking out about me freaking out if I do. So Mama Aya was mind-blowing, to say the least, and like so expansive. I met several different deities. Ganesha came to me during that time. My alien counterparts, my non-terrestrial or interterrestrial, whoever the fuck, interdimensional selves came, and I was so expanded. What I didn't like, because I was my first time was in Mexico, and we were in like a jungle environment. I have synesthesia and also like neurospicy in some way, so like extreme temperatures really impact me and affect me. So I didn't appreciate being outside during this time, because also then every bug and plant spirit person wanted to come meet me. And like they were and I was like, and some of them like came and like held me and like you're here, like, oh, and I was like, little bug, I'm on my journey right now.
My first shroom journey, that one I did solo. I was in the bathroom on the toilet releasing, purging, and a bug came to my leg, one of those German cockroaches.
Oh shit.
Came to my leg, sitting on the toilet, and I felt it. I brushed it off. I was like, okay, and like moved it. So like, okay, you want my attention? Brush you off. And then I returned to my room. I was sitting on the floor, the carpeted floor in my bedroom. I was on the beach playing in the sand, and then the bug came again. I was like, okay, journey over.
It's probably the same bug too. Like, what's up? I have a message for you.
I swear it was.
Oh my God. So now I prefer to be indoors. I got to be warm. I think I'd just be a little more prepared if I was going to do it in a jungle surrounding, because also the tree spirits, like this, the whole environment and watching things morph.
Oh yeah.
But I think, so mushrooms are my, not every day, but at least once a month I try to go on my vision quest and just allow myself. I had a head injury in 2018 that I'm still, you know, in mental, spiritual, physical recovery from. So plant medicine or mushrooms specifically, were the way to like reconnect my brain and like heal. Yeah, there's a lot of healing. And I would hear the mushrooms saying, like, I would get a headache and I'm like asking the medicine, like, what's happening? They're like, we're fixing it, reconnecting, we're fixing it. And I'm like, okay. Do you have a favorite strain of mushroom or type? Or
I like Golden Teacher.
Okay.
That one's really powerful to me. And recently I experienced albino penis envy.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy that.
So penis envy is my favorite regardless. It's like that lover that's gonna like fuck you to tears and then leave you alone to think about it and come fuck you again and leave you these squiggly lines to watch things dance. My anything albino is when I experienced that blind. Yeah. And I did experience penis envy the same way. So it was kind of like a mind fuck. Well, they're all mind fucks, right? But like having the body sensations and like just trusting whatever messages are gonna come through. So yeah, penis envy is my favorite. I used to cultivate, and when I'm in this environment again to do so, I definitely will, because I like having like from spore to tongue kind of like connection with my medicine.
So organic.
And then also like because I'm a shamanic training, when I start working with these, or when I learn the songs and get the blessings to work with Aya and all these deeper medicines, I haven't kissed the frog yet. I want to, but I'm kind of particular about my teachers and who can sit with me. Like you said, that experience with somebody that was just on the phone, that would have tweaked me out. I would have politely asked them to get the fuck out, because not only can I hear your phone talking to me, like now you're pulling from me because I'm aware of like you're not holding space. And that you're
not here if something were to happen.
Right.
You're not noticing every little thing.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between, like I said, the recreational mindset and then like the medicine, like treating it as a treatment and a journey.
Yeah.
So
you're literally going to rehab.
Right. With the spirit.
Self-inflicted, voluntary, you check yourself in, check yourself out.
For sure. So I want to know where to find you if I were to A, need some body work, or B, just want to observe you in nature in all your glory. Where can people find Goddess InnerG?
Well, they can find me here in Haven. We'll talk about that in the future. They can call me directly. I'm someone who's willing to give my phone number out, because it's nothing for me not to answer your call if I choose not to ignore a text message if I choose not to respond. So if you want to approach me and ask for my number, I'm willing to give it. On social media, they can find me at Esoteric Goddess InnerG. If you need to know how to spell those, it's ESOTERIC Goddess as GODDESS. And I spell my energy with INNERG. You know, it stands for many things.
The big G, if you will.
G, you feel me? I also have a business page that is Hershey Brand It. I make these wonderful cell phone dials to help us with scrambling some of that radioactive energy from our electronic devices.
Absolutely.
And that is Hershey Brand It. Just like the pronouns Hershey, the word brand, the word it.
And I don't have my phone right now, but you can see it right there. I love my diode with the Sankofa in the middle. It's
strong.
It's perfect. My goddess clips hers on her body sometimes, and it's just like very useful, and I'm grateful that such product exists, because who wants to carry around a big ass pyramid all the time? Who can, you know, like I'm sure there's somebody who does. But I'm grateful because I spend a lot of time on my phone being productive. But also lately bullshitting. Like I'm allowing myself to play games every once in a while. Like I have Sims I gotta go check on because I need that mindless non-productivity activity. But yeah, that I want several of those. Put them on my computer and my laptop, on everything. So I love that. I was like just talking shit, but like now I'm actually gonna do it.
It's gonna be there today.
So I want to thank you again for taking the time to bless the Dirty Divine viewers and listeners with your presence. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Listen, my questions for you are probably going to be regarding when are we gonna fuck? Because it has already been in the talks regarding you and our lovely
the goddess.
Well,
now.
In the physical, I will say, when is that happening?
Right, because we've already exchanged lots of energetic energy.
And I have very much so made it a public offering because
no lies.
Only the most worthy will be able to play on this pleasure playground.
Well, so you know, my answer to that is obviously like in divine timing, wink, wink. But, you know, intentionality is the name of the game. And so I think we should align that.
Question. I have to ask it.
Yes. And that's crazy because I do that a lot to people, not to people, but after I talk to them, I always think about Smokey from Friday. And he's like, "Well, you gonna let me fuck?" Yes. So thank you for hitting me with the Mr. Parker. And yeah, like we can, because I know like my goddess is we just got to be intentional about it. And of course I feel like it's gonna be hella juicy with touch and tantric energy exchange, and like, so obviously it's a promise to be a good time with conscious beings. And so y'all might get the update about that or not, you know, you might just have to wonder. You might, because we do have mutual film creator friends and stuff like that. Or it might just be one for the divine records, for the Akashics. So I'm going to close out this interview with a thank you again, and many gratitude kisses and hugs to everyone who tuned into this. If you're watching in the future, definitely like suck up all these good vibes. And so we will talk again soon. Hopefully get you back on the show in the future when we're doing our demonstrations and stuff like that.